Here's a question that'll mess with your head. Why did humanity ever decide to become farmers? Segment 1. The stupidest revolution in human history? Imagine living thousands of years ago. You wake up, grab your spear, and walk through a world that's basically one giant buffet. Wild fruit, fresh meat, clean rivers. You work maybe an hour or two a day, then you hang out, tell stories, nap under the stars. Now fast forward a few thousand years. You're bent over in a wheat field, working 6 hours under the sun, your back's killing you, your diet sucks, and you're getting sick from pig poop. Congratulations, you've just become civilized. For decades, we were told a simple story, the traditional paradigm. It goes like this. Humans were hunter-gatherers. Life was unstable and dangerous. And then one day, bam, we discovered farming. Agriculture made life predictable. Food became abundant. Villages turned into cities, cities into empires, and the rest is history. That story feels good, it sounds like progress. But here's the twist. There's no real evidence that switching to farming was a smart move. In fact, the more archaeologists dig, the more it looks like one of the worst decisions in human history. Because when we look at ancient skeletons, we find something weird. The farmers were shorter, sicker, and died younger than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. Farming didn't make life easier, it made it harder. Yuval Noah Harari, the author of Sapiens, put it perfectly. We didn't domesticate wheat, wheat domesticated us. We thought we were mastering nature, but maybe nature was mastering us. So if farming made life worse, here's the million-dollar question. Why the hell did we do it? Segment 2. The harsh truth. Why farming made us miserable. Here's the thing, no one tells you in school. When we started farming, life didn't get better, it got harder. Hunter-gatherers had it good. They hunted, foraged, and lived off nature's variety. Meat, nuts, berries, fresh greens. Archaeologists estimate they worked maybe 1 to 2 hours a day. The rest of the time, storytelling, dancing, art, raising kids. Then came farming. Suddenly, humans were stuck doing back-breaking labor 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Planting, weeding, harvesting, replanting, repeat. And for what? Wheat gruel. Our ancestors went from eating like wild omnivores to basically living off carbs and vegetables. The result? Malnutrition. Scientists can literally see it in the bones. When we dig up ancient skeletons, hunter-gatherers are taller, stronger, and have better teeth than early farmers. Farming made us shorter. It weakened our bones. It wrecked our diets. And the irony? It chained us to the very land we thought we were controlling. Harari wasn't kidding. Out in nature, wheat had to fight to survive, compete with other plants, evolve to attract animals. But once humans showed up with shovels and irrigation, wheat hit the evolutionary jackpot. It got humans to clear forests, dig ditches, carry water, and protect it from pests. Wheat didn't adapt to us, we adapted to it. And the problems kept snowballing. More farming meant more mouths to feed. More mouths meant more kids. More kids meant more land. And that led to overpopulation. Soon, fertile soil was being overworked until it turned to dust. Forests disappeared, rivers dried up, and when food ran low, societies collapsed or moved, bringing their problems with them. But the worst part wasn't even hunger, it was disease. When you cram hundreds of people, animals, and garbage into one place, you've just invented epidemics. Before agriculture, hunter-gatherers were nomads. They moved constantly, leaving waste behind. After agriculture, humans lived shoulder to shoulder with pigs, cows, and chickens. Germs jumped species, viruses evolved, plagues were born. So, to recap, more work, worse food, shorter lives, more disease. And yet, we stayed. Why would anyone trade freedom for a harder life? Because something powerful, something emotional was keeping them there. Something that could unite people under a single purpose, even when it hurt them. And that something wasn't food, it wasn't war, it was belief. Segment 3. The theories. What really made us settle down? No one really knows why humans traded freedom for farming. But over the years, archaeologists, anthropologists, psychologists, and primatologists have pieced together theories. Let's break them down. First, coercion, the first human scam. Some think it all started with control. An elite few, strong, clever, manipulative, convinced everyone else to work for them. Just like gorillas, where the alpha male gets all the food, all the females, and does zero work. Maybe early humans copied that system. But there's a problem. Humans aren't gorillas. We have something much more dangerous: cooperation. If a 9-foot alpha tried to dominate a tribe, the rest would team up and take him down, or poison his food, or just walk away. Coercion doesn't last when people can scheme and gossip, so that theory doesn't hold. Second, war the fortress farmers. Maybe we settled to protect ourselves, building walls, guarding food, preparing for enemies. It makes sense, but when archaeologists look at early sites like MagicLightai, there's almost no evidence of warfare. No weapons, no mass graves, no battle scars. And when we look at our closest relatives, chimps and bonobos, we find a contradiction. Chimps are violent, bonobos are peaceful. And genetically, we're closer to bonobos. So maybe humans aren't naturally violent after all. Third, respect for elders. Perhaps we stayed to care for the old, the keepers of memory and wisdom. But there's a catch. For most of history, people didn't see life as a straight line from birth to death. They saw it as a circle. The seasons died and came back. Life did too. Death wasn't the end, it was a return. So while respect for elders existed, it probably wasn't enough to make us settle down. Which leaves the final theory, and the one most scholars agree on. Religion. Religion, the idea that something beyond us was worth staying for. It wasn't food. It wasn't safety. It was meaning. Imagine hunter-gatherers meeting under sacred skies, honoring spirits, animals, ancestors. These weren't chores. They were celebrations, feasts, songs, rituals, and over time, people wanted to stay near those sacred places. They didn't settle for crops, they settled for connection. And that's exactly what archaeologists think happened at one of the most mysterious sites ever discovered, Göbekli-Tepe, the first temple. Segment 4, the Sacred Revolution. Göbekli-Tepe, Jericho, and Çatalhöyük. Picture this. It's 11,000 years ago. Humanity hasn't invented pottery yet. No writing, no cities. And yet, in the hills of Turkey, someone's building Göbekli-Tepe, massive stone circles carved with animals in motion. It's the oldest known temple on Earth, built before farming, before villages. Religion came first. Civilization followed. Each pillar represents a human figure. The animals aren't decorations, they're symbols. For these people, animals, humans, and nature were all equal. Killing required forgiveness. Eating required respect. Those carvings were prayers in stone. Hunter-gatherers likely traveled from far away to gather here to feast, to celebrate, to meet partners, and leading them were shamans, charismatic leaders bridging the human and the spirit world. Over time, devotion turned into community. Community became settlement. Settlement became civilization. But Göbekli-Tepe wasn't the only one. Next came Jericho, one of the oldest cities on Earth. People here were still hunter-gatherers, but they stopped moving. They built homes, walls, and most mysteriously, a tower. At first, scholars thought it was for defense, but they discovered the tower aligned perfectly with the sunday. On the longest day of summer, the nearby mountain's shadow climbed the tower, then covered the entire village in darkness. That's not a fortress, that's a cosmic clock. For them, this was magic. Proof that heaven touched earth. And inside their homes, people kept human skulls coated with clay. Ancestors' faces, remade and worshipped. They believed these skulls let them communicate with the spirit world, maybe even receive divine guidance. Jericho wasn't just a city. It was a conversation with the afterlife. Then came Çatalhöyük, around 7,500 BCE. A city of 8,000 people, but no temples, no palaces, no kings. Every house was the same. Every home was sacred. Religion wasn't in one place. It was everywhere. They buried their dead beneath the floors. The living and the ancestors literally shared space. Their walls showed volcanoes, bulls, vultures, and human figures in dances of life and death. They worshipped a mother goddess, the giver of life. When someone died, their flesh was offered to vultures, their bones buried in the home, their skulls kept as a link to the spirit world. They also revered the bull, symbol of energy and strength. The mother goddess and the bull together represented balance, female and male, birth and death, earth and sky. At Satahoyuk, religion explained everything. It wasn't separate from life, it was life. Maybe we didn't build temples because we had cities. Maybe we built cities because we had temples. Religion wasn't a side effect of civilization. It was civilization. Segment 5. The price of civilization. So, why did humanity abandon freedom for farming? Why trade a wild, flexible life for one of routine, hard labor, and hierarchy? The answer may be faith. Religion gave us something no other force could, a shared dream. A story powerful enough to make thousands of people move stones, build towers, and dedicate their lives to invisible gods. Those gods gave us meaning. The people who built Göbekli Tepe weren't chasing comfort. They were chasing connection to the stars, to their ancestors, to each other. Civilization began with worship, not wealth. With unity, not utility. But somewhere along the way, we forgot. Today, we still gather around temples. We just call them skyscrapers. We still worship, but now our gods are progress, profit, and productivity. We didn't stop believing. We just changed what we believe in. Harari said wheat domesticated us, and he was right. Wheat needed us to spread, so we served it. And in doing so, we built homes, temples, cities, nations. We chained ourselves to the land and to the future. Once you start planting, you start planning. You start thinking in seasons, in generations. That's how time itself changed. Hunter-gatherers lived in cycles. Farmers lived on calendars. The moment we settled down, history began. Was it worth it? On paper, yes. Agriculture gave us art, writing, medicine, technology, the modern world. But it also gave us inequality, war, stress, disease. Maybe civilization wasn't the dawn of progress, but the dawn of dependence. And yet, maybe it was inevitable. Humans don't just want to survive, we want to belong. We want to believe that our suffering means something, that our work, our rituals, our cities, all connect us to something greater. Maybe that's why we stayed. Not for food, not for power, but for purpose. So next time you look at a skyline, remember, you're living inside the aftershock of a decision made 10,000 years ago. A decision born of faith and paid for in freedom. The agricultural revolution wasn't just the birth of farming. It was the birth of us. What do you think was civilization humanity's greatest mistake, or its greatest miracle?